My name's Duncan Money, and I'm a consulting historian and researcher with a long-standing interest in digitisation. So I'm interested from this workshop in learning from others about methods in digital humanities and digitisation from a practical point of view. What are things that work? What are things that don't work? What are good ways of doing these projects? What are longer term solutions around things like data storage and sustainability of digitization work? I would look at its application in the process of digitizing stuff because people, I think, underestimate how labor intensive and tedious it is to digitize things. But tedious, which needs to be combined with quite a high level of attention to detail. The people need to check documents, they need to scan documents carefully. I suspect now that a lot of that can be automated, and that will make the job of digitizing this stuff less tedious, which is a good thing, I think. If there are lessons and processes that can be learned, I think they can be directly applied to projects I work in, and I would like to do that. So the project I've worked on currently for the longest is working with the Zambia Congress of Trade Unions to digitize their archive. And as I mentioned, the work of scanning is labor intensive and dull. And I see that with the project staff we have. They sometimes their job is interesting if they're scanning interesting material, but a lot of the time their job is boring. And I think it would be good if their job was less boring. And that's how I would hope to utilize AI, and how I would see it intersecting with digitization in a very practical sense of creating this material. It's not something I've implemented in the project yet. This is something I want to find out and do as a fairly immediate practical thing. So the challenge for me is related to ownership and what happens with this material, because in all the projects I've been involved in, there are very clear limits and decisions around ownership, that the ownership of this material remains with the people who already own the physical material. Physical material remains with them. They get a copy of the digital material, and they allow others a copy of the digital material to work in very specific senses. Now, obviously, that material could be copied and people could renege on those agreements, but there were fairly limited ways they could do that, and it was pretty obvious if someone had made a copy of it. With the easy availability now of large language models and a high level of curiosity amongst many people about using these models, people are going to start feeding these archives in to LLMs, and then really all bets are off. Who owns the material then? And it's very difficult to to govern and reach agreements on how this material can be used if it's shared in that manner. And so I don't think we have properly got to grips with what this means for ownership of material and the new ways it could be used.